City of Asheville. I am going to call the meeting to order. Can I bang this? Yes, the meeting is in order. Welcome everybody, pre-holiday. We have the Transit Committee of the City of Asheville. What I wanted to do, because I realized I didn't do it the last couple meetings, and I think we have a lot of people sitting out here, is can we go around and introduce ourselves? And one thing I realized that I didn't know is I don't know how long each of us has been on the Transit Committee. So can we say our names and just say how long we've been on this committee? That would be wonderful. And Harvey, would you like to start?
I'm Harvey. I'm retired, a veteran, and a peer support specialist. And I've been on the committee for over a year now.
My name is Kim Roney. I also serve on the city's Multimodal Transportation Commission, and I've been on the Transit Committee for 3.5 years. And I ride the W routes, and I really appreciate my neighbors who are showing up, and thanks to Beth for the cookies. I don't know how long I can keep this time going for you.
Okay, back to it.
My name's Paul, and I've been on the committee since June of this year.
I'm Thomas. I've been on the committee since, I think, the fall of 2017. This is my third year.
I'm Jeff Jones. I've been on the committee exactly 1 year.
That's our welcome.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Medlock, and I have been on the Transit Committee since March of 2019. My first meeting.
I'm Georgia Bartz, and I've been here since June also.
I'm Barry Riley. I'm the general manager at our ATP Dev. We run the operations side of the system, and I've been there since March.
My name is Eunice Lilly, and I'm with the City of Asheville. I'm the transit planning manager, and I've been with the city for almost 6 months.
Anyone else? Okay. Harvey, would you like to go ahead and do some?
I would like to make an observation. Whenever we're talking, we please use the microphones because I can't hear you.
Okay. Harvey, would you like to read the welcome announcement?
Yes.
And we can go ahead and get that. Thank you so much.
Transit Committee meeting announcement. Welcome to the Asheville Transit Committee. We meet on the third Tuesday of the month in the municipal building from 3:30 to 5:30. The Transit Committee is a volunteer citizen board designed to offer input and guidance to the Asheville transit system and the City Council. We do not set or change routes, control Asheville's transit budget, or have authority over staff, drivers, or the management company. We are a group of citizens like you who are here to ensure community concerns are taken into consideration when setting public transit policy. We welcome public input in our meetings. You are allowed to comment on any matter under consideration prior to a final vote. If you have something to say, raise your hand and the chair will recognize you. There are also 2 public comment periods, one at the start of the meeting and one at the end. Any person addressing the committee is limited to 3 minutes. However, a group may have a single spokesperson who will be allowed 10 minutes. The committee will receive written information from any individuals or groups that cannot conclude their presentations within these time limitations. If you would like to have any item discussed in more detail as part of our agenda, we ask that you speak with a member of the Transit Committee in order to have that item addressed during our next meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Your input is valuable.
Thank you, Harvey. We're going to do a couple of business items, and we'll get to public comment. And also, when you want the chair to recognize you, because I'm visually impaired, I mean, literally, you're going to have to wave like this, because sometimes when people just go like that, I can't see you. So, like, either yell or kind of do a big gesture. Just want to point that out, because sometimes I won't see you. So the first thing on our agenda before we get to public comment is looking at the agenda for today. we need to look at. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda or changes to the agenda before we go to the approval of that?
I just have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The agenda is approved. The second thing that we'll be talking about today is you had attached to the agenda the minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any additions, deletions, or edits to those minutes that they'd like to bring forward?
Continued appreciation for Kim and Thomas who
Yes, thank you.
have done our minutes. I move to accept them.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so our minutes are approved. Okay, so we're going to take some time for public comment. Before we have public comment, before this meeting, as you know, we have applicants on our agenda today. We reached out to those applicants. I personally reached out to each applicant and invited them here today. So I'm hoping that some of you that will be coming up during public comment will be the applicants for the Transit Committee or anyone else that wants to speak. But when you come up, just make sure you state your name. And again, you'll have up to 3 minutes to talk. And welcome to those that are applying to be on the Transit Committee today. Okay, we'll open public comment. Who would like to come forward?
I will.
Come on up. Hi.
Hi, my name's Matthew Supley. Last name's Supley. And for those of you that know anything about service animals, 2 weeks ago, I had my public access test. My dog passed it with no problems. This was after 3 months of trying to coordinate the time by a professional service dog trainer. Second, I appreciate each and every one of you members of the board that ride the bus. At one time or another, I'm sure I've seen on some bus or another because I ride all the buses. I have to say, for the people, by the people. That was a bad dream I had many, many years ago, though. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, you riding members, I had to walk out of the meeting first because of a particular individual's comments, the city transportation lady's comments. And then the last one, I had to leave. And that was the town manager's comments. Because of the arrogance, the town manager telling me, doesn't need y'all's advice, y'all's approval, y'all's opinions. What are y'all here for? I don't know. I mean, I thought y'all were here to give a little bit of input. I know y'all can't make changes, but sometimes advice is really good because I've talked to several drivers and they wonder how these new routes are actually going to work. I've talked to a lot of passengers. They don't know how these new routes are going to work. I don't know either. I'm waiting until January 5th because I'm going to ride each and every bus. But I challenge the non-riding members of the board to ride the art. I think that's the slogan, isn't it? Ride the art. I urge you to ride the art. You find a place that is the furthest that you can catch the bus. If you live up towards Weaverville, park at the Merriman Avenue, Ingalls. If you live out near Black Mountain, I'll give you a little bit and I'll tell you to park at the Ingalls at the VA. Other places, y'all figure it out. Lester Highway, park at the Ingalls. Wherever. 1 week, ride the art to and from work. Ride the art to and from any business that you have to take care of, whether it's grocery shopping, shopping for your family, or whatever. I have seen each one of these members at one time or another on the bus. I know they ride it. I know they're from many different walks of life, many different purposes for riding the bus. But they ride the bus. I would think their advice, their input is somewhat important because they know how it functions. It's not just putting it on paper and saying, hey, this is good. It's not just driving the bus and each bus has different peak hours. Ride the bus at the peak hours. For 1 week, 1 week, I challenge you. I urge you, I more than urge you, I challenge you. Ride the ART to and from work, to and from each business that you have to do. Grocery shopping, department store shopping, whatever it is. And I have to say, the arrogance, I feel, the arrogance of last month's meeting that I had to leave. There used to be an employee that works for the county, or worked for the county. She's now sitting in a country club. She had the same arrogant attitude. I thank you very much. And if I'm incorrect for what I said, I apologize. But I hope each and every one of y'all understand the feelings I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone else like to come forward? Yes, I hear you. Yes, come on up. Thank you for the gesture.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Greaves. I also go by Tori. I'm one of the applicants to join the board. Apologies that I didn't come last month. There's some miscommunication. I didn't realize I was supposed to come. But just for a little bit of context about me, I'm a resident of West Asheville. For the first 9 months that I lived here, I did not have my own personal vehicle, and that actually is what inspired me to apply to join the board. I relied on the bus and bike routes to get to and from work and to do all my kind of necessary activities. And I, experienced some challenges with the public transportation in the city. And along with that, for my own professional work, I am a climate change analyst. I work for a company that's called the Climate Service, and we actually work with governments and businesses to help them understand how climate change will affect them now and into the future, based on the climate models and how things like flooding and extreme heat will affect things like infrastructure and transportation systems. So my ultimate hope in joining the board would be that I could help bring some of that expertise and the professional kind of experience that I've had to help embed some of that sustainability into the transportation system in our own city, and also to help make the transportation system work well for the citizens of the city of all walks of life. I think as was just described, I think it's just such a vital lifeline, an important resource for so many people in the city, including myself, and I would really like the opportunity to be able to help support our city and its citizens in making the system even better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
Pardon me, what did you say your name was?
Victoria Greaves, but I go by Tori, Tory.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
Thanks.
Is anyone else? I see a hand. Wait, I'm pointing at some. Okay. Just fight it out with one of y'all come up here, okay?
Good afternoon. My name is
Hi.
Kyle Sherrod. I'm one of the applicants. I guess I want to start off with a question, which is this our time to speak for our application, or will that be later?
So this is your time to speak. You have
Okay.
up to 3 minutes. We can't ask you any questions, by the way. I'm not asking questions. We can't ask you any questions, so this is your time to
Okay,
speak. Correct?
gotcha. All right, well, my name's Kyle. I work next door in the county courthouse for the state as a DA. I've been riding the bus almost religiously Monday through Friday and some Saturdays and Sundays since I moved back to Asheville in October 2018. It is my necessary ride to and from work, and so I'm doing it twice a day minimum, 5 days a week, and it's a lifeline for me. So I guess based on my daily rides, I just thought, with an opening on the committee that I might be an advantageous voice, at least from maybe a legal standpoint, I don't know, or at least just a daily rider. So there's unfortunately some crossover between my job next door and my ridership. Sometimes whether it be people that are required to go to the courthouse or people that are banned from certain areas of town or the bus. Sometimes we do have to handle cases involving bus drivers, so I did list that as a possible thing in my application. I can't think of the word right now, conflict. Nonetheless, in full frankness, I would enjoy being on this committee. I enjoy being a member of the city of Asheville. I lived here from 2006 to 2016, and then again returned here from, October 2018, excuse me. during my prior residency here, I was also a regular bus rider, mostly on the N routes. But I do want to make aware to the committee that, in a sense, that last time I was given about a week's notice of the committee, and I planned on coming, and I got pulled into a very much a last-minute corruption trial for a city official from another town. So that does pose a potential risk of my board attendance in the future. I could do everything in my power to plan around that, but I think that the board should be aware that that would be a potential issue for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. The other person that raised their hand, come on up. I saw somebody waving in the...
There's a couple that are negotiating.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Jean Bedore. I moved here 18 months ago. However,
You can speak into the microphone.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Jean Bedore. I moved here 18 months ago from Portland, Oregon, retired teacher and vice principal in the Portland Public Schools. I discovered Asheville when I was 19, 20, 21, and 22. Between college stints, I was a camp counselor in Brevard at Eagle's Nest Youth Camp. The reason I'm here is because I would like to serve Asheville. I love Asheville. I love Brevard. I love Hendersonville. I'm back home. I have 9 living siblings. I live in Kenilworth now. And yes, they visited a lot. I mean, a lot. I love the diversity here, and I hope to be able to help the Transit Committee move into the future while also keeping Asheville small and keeping our beautiful skyline available. I've got some really big ideas. Anyway, if I'm chosen, I would be glad to serve. And I'm, like I said, I'm retired. And I'd like to thank Marissa Moreno, wherever she is, for Marcella Moreno, yeah, for keeping me in touch about when the meetings are. So, thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Carmen. I'm the community organizer at Just Economics, and I work with Better Buses Together. And if you don't know, we are a branch of Just Economics, and we work on improving transit and being advocates for riders. What I'm hoping to do today is show you a flyer that we've done up in order to enhance the information that's been given out by the city, and hopefully get these out en masse to our riders to inform them of the upcoming changes. I have enough for all of you. My contact info is on the back. I ask that you review them, make any suggestions to me by like noonish tomorrow, and you know, if there's no glaring errors or you all are on board, I would love to start passing these out at the transit station and aboard while I'm en route. Okay? Would that be okay to pass them out now?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Full disclosures, a couple members here were working.
Yes.
Thanks
Thanks to,
on that.
I apologize. Thanks so much
I have to say
to,
that because I already saw it. You're handing something in front of us, but I had it electronically, and
both Kim and Elizabeth helped with them, specifically with the specific changes which I didn't want to get wrong. So they reviewed it and made adequate changes to what was there. So.
Since you have access to this as the chair, or maybe I can as this interim secretary, we just need to send this out digitally to the
yeah,
entire
we're
group.
gonna definitely send it out. I think I was backed up before I got here, so I had checked it at the last minute to shoot it out, but that was my plan. Yeah, we're gonna get this out.
I have the final draft, so I'll email it to both of you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I see a hand in the back, I think. Come on up.
Hey y'all. I just want to tell all of you, you, and you. You're very valuable to the city. Okay? I'm also a volunteer on a committee for the city. You bring your hearts, you bring your dedication,
you bring your passion. Okay? You're caring for all of us and for things to get better. Okay? I thank you for that. And I'm also a customer of the buses and an advocate. Okay? Not for the organization Better Buses, but I talk to city councils on my own, council members and the city manager. And I'm glad that I wasn't here at the last meeting, because from what I hear, what was said would have broken my heart. And I think it was very disrespectful to have you guys be told that. And if I'm correct in my information. And also, I've been trying to keep up with a little area, that we used to be able to go inside and get warm on cold days like today. I'd gotten different information. I talked with the city manager. I was told that it would be open again like the 19th or 20th. But then I spoke with the supervisor for the buses yesterday, Sheila, actually, and she said they're waiting on parts, like the chairs and everything, to go in there. But it would be nice to get that kind of information from the transportation department for the city, for all of us, because all the kids are getting colds, can't go to school. People use the buses to go to work, getting sick, can't make it to work. So I appreciate that we have buses. I do. But you guys, I appreciate you, and stay strong.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? And we'll have another public comment toward the end of the meeting. If anyone else to come up, just making sure I'm not missing someone. Am I missing someone? Okay, thank you. Yeah, are the other, I invited, there's 4. Is there another one here? Yeah, one that actually doesn't have, I'll talk about it in a minute. Any other applicants here?
I'm here.
Oh, come on up. Because I emailed them.
Hi, my name is John Hahn.
Hey, John.
I've lived in Asheville for about 5.5 years now. I've taken the bus since I've lived here. For circumstances beyond my control, I haven't been able to drive. So I started living in West Asheville, and I took the W1, W2 constantly. Now I live in East Asheville, so now I'm taking the E1, E2, 170. The reason I'm getting involved is I heard from one of the drivers, and erroneously I found out that the E2 was not going to run. And so I got on my, words, and I'm very good at writing more than I am speaking. So I basically wrote a nice long letter to you guys and said how I was upset about it and what could we do about it and things like that. And I got, I think Elizabeth got back with me. And I actually ended up, before you got back with me, I ended up writing to Mountain Express, and they told me, I told them I'd talk to you, and so that was canceled and whatnot. But I just think being part of this committee, since I ride the bus constantly, I see everything that goes on. I know about the bus stops that don't have shelters. I've been in them. I know about some of the drivers that have had bad, issues with themselves, so they take it out on other people. I know about some of the supervisors that I've had a supervisor go off on me for no reason at all whatsoever, and I'm like, okay. Just give my 2 cents in and just letting y'all know that I work for the city now. I work for the city. I work for the Cambria Hotel, so I'm part of the system that we cater to, So part of the service industry. That's what we're all here for, actually, because without the service industry, this city doesn't really flourish very much. So thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you. Anyone else? Am I missing anybody? Great. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the applicants, and we've had everyone come. The 5th applicant that you'll see on the stage, I reached out to everybody personally and through email to make sure everybody came. One of the applicants, which is Kyle Parker, I emailed him 3 times. He didn't give me, there was no valid phone number. If you look, one of the digits was missing in the phone number. And I tried to contact him 3 different times through every way I had available. But his application was never completed because he didn't complete the supplemental questions. So 4 of the applications were completed. Since the last time, I think a couple of them were missing the supplemental questions. I reached out, made sure that everyone had done the supplemental questions, so you should have had a complete packet on everyone. And thank you for all being here today. I appreciate that. Okay. So
Although, I just wanted to add that
Yeah.
it feels really good when people are able to show up to a meeting
Yes.
when they're not even appointed. As fellow volunteers who are bus riders, we know how much energy it takes to come during the afternoon, and
Yeah.
that means a lot to me.
Thank you so much. Okay. So you had all the information. So the completed applications are the 4 people that we saw here today, Tori and Kyle and John and Jean. Once it open the floor, do we have any discussion about that? I mean, has everyone read over? I read over all the materials. We've seen them speak, so.
Before we
Yeah.
hear motions,
Yeah.
I just want to let my fellow transit committee members know that I'll be turning in my letter of resignation by the end of the year. I have my hands full with some other tasks, but I'm also just really thankful that the people we have at this table are so skilled and thoughtful in bringing advice in a really meaningful, collaborative spirit. And I'm hopeful because I think we're getting ready to see some wins and that we've all been working towards. And it's because people show up and participate and bring their voice. So I'm thankful. I have a lot of gratitude.
So this is your
So there will,
last year.
this will be my last meeting, and then
Hence
you'll
says
have
also
another
write the
opening.
Cookies, but I didn't want to say anything until Kim said something.
But I didn't want to resign without telling y'all first.
Yeah. And also, you'll all be getting an email the very interesting pillow that Kim is getting as a gift from the transit committee. That will be coming. So that means actually that we have 4.
We'll have 4. You currently
We'll
have
have
3.
4.
We currently have 3, but there will be an additional one.
We'll have an additional one when Kim rolls off. So we'll actually, at the beginning of the year, have, when these folks would start, we'll have 4 slots open. I also want to say really quick before I forget, because of this meetings being flipped this month, usually multimodal would happen after this meeting in December. So we have to bring our nominees and our recommendations to multimodal, who then approves them. That would have happened this month, but because of the way the meetings were, multimodal met last week. So what's going to happen is that in January, oddly enough, because of the way the days fall, transit happens the day before multimodal. Multimodal won't approve until January. But what I've talked with them about is whoever we appoint today will just come to the meeting as a non-voting member, and then the next day hopefully be approved. And what I'll do, work towards on the agenda, is bringing forth all the goals so we make sure we can flesh those out with the new members. And I'll try to work with staff to have an agenda that doesn't need a lot of votes, so that we can be fully participatory. Does that sound okay with everybody before we move forward? And applicants, I just wanted to let you know kind of what was going on.
Additionally, because I'm a multimodal liaison with Beth, the city council will appoint another multimodal transportation committee member to fill my seat that will also represent transit interests that can come from this group, or if the council appoints a different person to multimodal, it would make a seat for them at this table.
Right. And so I guess our hope is always that somebody that's been on transit and is a transit rider that comes from this committee would want to go on to multimodal. Okay. Does anyone have any discussion about any of our applicants?
I'm ready to make a motion for Tori. I really appreciate the experience that she brings to the table with understanding the sustainability issues that are woven into transit, and I think that's something that we need at this table.
I'll second.
Yeah. Do we need more discussion?
I don't, the applications are not identical, and I'd like to ask if Tori is a regular bus rider. I think what I viewed online was different than what I have in this packet, and so the checkbox form I don't have that form for her.
Can she use it? I read that.
The reason why they're different is because we moved to a different form, because before people weren't filling out the supplemental questions, so
Right.
now it's required. But it's all the same questions, it's just in a different format. So I think the one you're referring to was the one that Tori filled out when she applied several months ago. And then when Beth requested her to fill the supplemental questions, it's the whole,
Right.
The-
whole shebang.
Right. There's 3 documents attached to my digital agenda, and it has checked regular bus rider, bicycle commuter, and pedestrian
Correct.
commuter.
She is checked regularly.
Yes, correct.
Because that did not make it onto,
Yeah, it's in the electronic copy.
in the electronic form is then incorrect, because it's not checked here. So
I saw it checked, but I can double
Yeah,
check
it's-
it
that.
says, if I'm reading the right part, it says bicycle commuter, business management operational, and public speaking. And, no, that's what I remember seeing, but that's not what's here. So I wanted to
Okay.
confirm that she's a regular bus
Yes.
rider.
That was in.
That's important to me.
Right. No, thank you for doing that too.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we have any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Okay. You on it.
So then the multimodal at the January meeting will approve.
We'll approve. Yeah, and that again will come the day after. So you will be coming to the January meeting of transit. I will email you and staff will email you. We will keep in constant communication with you about that. Do not worry. So do we have any other discussion about Emily, other applicants? And we have a lot of positions open, so.
So I would move recommending Kyle Sherrard for the transit committee.
Okay.
He is I want to point out he's a regular bus rider. I do understand his potential conflict. I'm not concerned about the conflict in terms of the legal cases that we may be addressing here.
Mm-hmm.
I have some concern about timing, but I heard him say he would move the earth to make sure he could be here. And so I accept that as his word.
Do we have a second?
Oh, yeah, I seconded.
Okay, and do we have any more discussion?
So I have a legal background, but I won't always be on the transit committee, so I think it'd be good to have multiple people.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm in my 3rd year,
And so does Paul, so we have now,
yeah, so we can kind
we're
of.
attorney now.
Yeah, so I think
Legal
that'd be
now.
great.
Okay. Any more
And
discussion?
I've seen Kyle on the bus. So.
Okay, any more discussion?
I think
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I took the bus back home after the last meeting. Happened to meet him at the where you get on the bus. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. I would like to recommend John to the committee. He is the one that outreached to me a couple of times when he was told he great information. I know that he is a every single day bus rider and rides a lot of the routes and seemed to be very aware of everything that was going on. Again, like he said, with the stops and what was going on. And he quickly emailed me and said, hey, I was told E2. I rely on E2. We went back and forth. So I would like to recommend him because he seems to be really in the know, and I believe he rides the bus every single day, multiple routes throughout the city, and is pretty aware of transit and the bus riding experience.
Yeah.
And I like to think he was vocal about something that he was told and came straight to the committee and, and asked about that.
Yeah, I think John will be good.
So am I recording a second?
I think Jeff seconded.
Second.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, got a second. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right.
So those are the 3 that we're sending forward to the Multimodal Transportation Commission, and then there will be an additional.
There'll be
at least one
additional,
opening in January.
right. There will be additional opening in January. So it's, yeah, so there'll still be another consideration of applicants at our January meeting. And we will take those to multimodal. But you will, those of you that have been today will also come to our January meeting as non-voting members. You will get all the information. You will be on the emails for the agenda. You will be added to all that. Thank you.
Elizabeth, if
Yes.
I might add, if you wanted to, you guys could nominate a fourth person now, since they wouldn't be appointed technically until January, which Kim's resignation will have already taken effect by that time. So it's up to you. If you wanted to, you could.
Well, I haven't submitted my letter to the council, and they haven't accepted my resignation, so there's not a third opening for us to suggest for.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think taking 3 to multimodal is probably about what we could do right now. Okay. Great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all the applicants for showing up, and I hope we did get communication with you this time to make sure we got everybody here. Wonderful. Okay, we have the budget presentation next on the agenda. Oh no, Marcella, are you next? Guess what? Someone forgot their 20 magnifiers and is really struggling today. So are you next on it? Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a verbal update.
I know you're going to do, yeah. So this is the update about the
What's going on with
what's
the
going on.
marketing.
And y'all have the ambassador training, and I did the info. So
Yeah. So like Beth was saying, we had the ambassador training and a lot of y'all were able to make it. So thank you. We'll have shifts available for folks to volunteer and pass out flyers at the station. And if anyone wasn't able to make it, contact me directly and we can try and work something out. Knowing that the holidays are coming up really soon. Another thing that we've been doing, or Kayla has been doing, she's been out putting up notices on bus stops that are going to be removed. So people, as they're waiting at their stop, can see January 5th, this is no longer a stop. We're going to have those signs up after the service change as well, so that if people show up, that sign's still there and available for them to know that that's why the bus isn't stopping there anymore. We worked with the sign shop, the City of Asheville sign shop, and they're going to be putting out the new bus stop signage. There's going to be bags on top, so you can't even see the bus stop sign, but there's also going to be a notice that on January 5th, this will be a bus stop, so people can kind of visualize where these new places are going to be. Maps are online, as you all know. We're aiming to have those available at the transit ticketing office starting next week. And we can send out a notice when those are available. And I think it'll be really great to have ambassadors notify people, since we're in a weird place with the construction, to let people know, please go to the ticketing office. There's maps there, and they're also online. We had an info session at PVA, so thank you, Thomas, for helping coordinate that, and some upcoming ones with Hog Creek, so thank you, Jeff, for helping coordinate that. I know CAPE is putting out a press release the week of December 30th. CAPE will be posting some posts out on Nextdoor for folks that use that as their social networking of choice. Getting out some printed materials at the high traffic bus stops. We're working on getting the head signs to provide notice of service changes, so saying January 5th, service change. So if
what
you're...
are head signs?
Head signs are the illuminated signs on the buses that say where it's going.
So those may say changes are coming?
Mm-hmm. So it would flash Art Station, service change, January 5th. Okay. So that way you're capturing people who are off of the buses and they're like, hey, I see them.
That's huge. That's
yeah.
Great. That's great.
So working through the technology with that to get that up. I know Kayla was a huge help in getting some flyers out to the Buncombe County community markets and out to some property managers that had requested information. Jessica sent out information to a list of stakeholders that we had and other points of interest like the recreational facilities. An iRide email should be going out hopefully tomorrow. And then drivers are going to be passing out materials in the coming weeks. And I think that's everything I've got on my current list. Yes.
So you sent out a schedule for ambassador to be on the platform,
Right.
and it wasn't clear to me what days that was for.
Mhm.
And I signed up, but I said I'd like to do it on December 23rd and 24th. But I'm not sure that fits with your schedule, because you may be thinking it's only in January.
No, I have added there's different tabs for different dates.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not an Excel expert, and I didn't notice the different tabs.
If you want, we can just email directly and I'll put you down.
Okay.
Because basically I just wanted people's contact information so I
I'm not
can.
sure what I signed up for, so.
Cool. All right. I'll email you after a meeting.
All right, good. And so schedules, I just want to be able to put schedules in people's hands, new brochures in people's hands, starting next Monday.
Well, I thought it started Friday, the 20th.
The first sign-up date is the 20th. So we're going to have the flyer. We'll have flyers with the different service changes ready. They're supposed to be ready tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes. So there will be printed materials to hand to people so they can see the different changes that are coming.
What about the ones that we were supposed to get?
Those are the ones that I'm referring to.
The ambassadors were supposed to get.
That's what I'm referring to. They should be printed by tomorrow.
And the maps are next week?
Next week.
Okay. Do we have a comprehensive list of all the stops being added and removed?
Yeah.
Available?
We do have that.
Can it be sent to the transit committee?
Sure.
It's just, it feels a little like we're at the very last minute and people are asking and I don't know, and that feels like a connection that can be made.
Yeah, sure.
And if we don't have anything electronically, can we get it? If there's anything missing, I don't know. You know, the stuff that I think that I probably have it, but if not, can we just get it electronically? Also, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And what, because, we worked on this fly in Better Buses. From your perspective, now you're saying, and there's people in the audience and us, is there anything else that would be helpful for other groups, for both the Transit Committee, Better Buses, Artsy, and other groups that would be helpful to join with you guys to make sure that this information gets out? So tell me where you need help and how those groups can help and how we can be the most useful besides being ambassadors in your mind.
Honestly, I feel like the best way that the changes have been communicated is like face-to-face, like verbal, being able to explain it. So social media is helpful. I know that's not face-to-face, but it's a more personal engagement. Telling literally everyone you know about these service changes that are coming. Trying to think. Can I think on it and come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, as far as being ambassadors at the station, has there been any thought to setting up at really high volume stops instead of, because I know most people do pass through the transit center, but maybe not everybody, and I'm thinking, I'm still worried about PVA and people going westbound from there. So I just wanted to check on that.
Oh yeah, how was the turnout at those two meetings?
It was pretty good. I think they had us slotted behind a well-attended meeting, and so we got through to a lot of folks. I wish it had been more, so that's why I'm kind of.
What about Hall Creek?
It happens this coming. I was out of town last weekend, so this coming weekend is the first time it's going to happen. I know that it went out to either 500 or 800 people who say I love Hall Creek, but I was on the bus today, and someone who lives in Spruce Hill has not been notified of the meeting. So I'll be following up with the manager in the next day or two about why she didn't know about the meeting. Not that she has to attend, but she needs to know about it.
So I guess the follow-up thing is, for example, if there's the 3 highest volume stops where folks might not be using the transit center, but they go there, maybe having high volume stops be a list for additional outreach for extra capacity.
Yeah, I know we were planning on having printed materials, but I think I do like the idea of having someone available there. And we did talk about it. It was just a question of how many ambassadors we had and manpower. Person power.
And I know that, Marcella, we talked about the idea of potentially having the new maps on the buses, like in some like Velcro the thing right to that thing, so when the buses switch out, because when you get on the bus, if you've been missed, at least you can take the new map when you get on the bus. Because we can't hit everybody getting on the bus, but if those are physically on the bus, that's something that we talked about.
That's something that we talked about, and
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about it internally
Okay.
still.
Okay.
It's been a little nuts right now.
And remind me when drivers will actually be handing out things to every passenger who gets on their bus.
So please correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I think the 28th and the 30th were the days that we decided upon to catch weekend riders as well as weekday riders. Understanding that it's not necessarily always the same people.
28th is a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
That's-
true.
No.
28th is a Saturday, 30th is a Monday.
Monday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And bus drivers will hand something to everyone who boards the bus that day. Their bus. Good. I like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank
again
you.
As for training.
Thank
yesterday.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the little
We
mascot.
can't wait. Okay, now we're going to do the budget.
Hi there.
Hi everyone. Yeah, so this is a quick overview of our budget, what we have for the current year, as well as what we have estimated for 2021. So basically for 2020, the current year, in looking at the projected actual expenditures, we realized that it may be more than what was originally approved, and so we made some changes to the table to the right. And if you look at that information, the base budget was estimated to be over $8.9 million. And then we also added the enhancements that was approved by the City Council for 1.2. So the total came to a little over 10 million. And basically when you look at the difference, which is a little over $500,000, that is as a result of paratransit cost, fuel cost, as well as electricity costs for the electric buses. So that amount is a little bit over 500,000. And so the budget actual projection for the current fiscal year is going to be a little over 10 million. Okay, are there any questions regarding that?
Yeah, I have one. This question came up at the Multimodal Transportation Commission. We requested information about a fuel comparison for hybrid versus diesel, because I know we purchased diesel buses recently, but what is the cost comparison of what we're getting out of the hybrid versus the diesel?
That may take a little bit of time, but we are going to work on it and make sure you get it.
And then I know we've had a repeated request for out-facing data for fuel savings with the electric buses, because there's meant to be a data component with our Proterra buses where the public should be able to see what the fuel savings are, because $500,000 being for those three issues, I think fuel is going to have to be part of the conversation. And lastly, I had a question about consultant fees, because I know we have been budgeting for a consultant for the transportation department. So is that part of the budget overage, and has staff time been a factor in this overage at all?
The consultant fees are included in both the base budget, and there was some of the enhancements that included some consultant fees. And so those are in the total approved budget, but have nothing to do with the overage. The overages that we're projecting right now are related to paratransit mostly, and then fuel and electricity. So those three things are the cause of the overage that we're projecting based on this first 5 months.
And I know y'all are really busy with the system changes, but I think it would be helpful for this group. It's certainly been helpful for me to see a more detailed comparison, line item, but also like comparison year to year, so we can see like how important it is to have our staff and our department fully staffed. And that's like part of this conversation, but it's a holistic conversation about the budget instead of 4 line items.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question about, you said the shortage was of paratransit. Is that the result of the county pulling back the money from paratransit, or explain to me just in like a couple of words, like the reason why the paratransit is, I get the other 2 parts, but paratransit causing some of the overage?
Those are additional costs based on conversations with the county in terms of the numbers that was given to the city, and then based on ongoing conversation, they indicated that there might be some additional cost, and Jessica may need some help here.
So the cost increase for paratransit is directly because of more riders and farther distances.
Right.
So we were told in about March of this year that the projected expense for paratransit would be about $730,000. And based on the number of rides and the distances that we're seeing, that projection is now looking to be a little over $1 million. So that's when we say that we're projecting to go over our total approved budget, the vast majority of that is due to a large uptick in paratransit users.
Right.
And the conversation about the county not continuing to subsidize paratransit for the city is kind of a separate thing in some ways.
Yep.
And the county's expecting our paratransit costs to potentially be up to $1.7 million next year.
Right.
So we're looking at $1 million more of paratransit costs potentially from right now.
I have a question, and it's probably not related, but I just wanted to confirm this. When the county and Mountain Mobility decided to go fare free for its system to increase ridership, and I understand it's like right around 25% right now, is that part, or is it expected that that's the ridership increase is leading to a general overall understanding that people in general are looking for Mountain Mobility services more often?
I'm sorry.
Has that been looked at?
I pay for Mountain Mobility. Is it free?
It's The Trailblazers are free. Mountain Mobility is
No,
not
Mountain
free.
Mobility, I
So
pay
para-
for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
sorry,
pay
sorry,
for
sorry,
it.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trailblazer.
Yeah. Because paratransit, you actually pay.
But paratransit being free, is that any reason why we're seeing like farther distances was named?
Paratransit is not free.
It's not free.
But the Trailblazer is free.
Yes.
And it's seeing an increase in ridership. I had the wrong word.
Right.
Okay.
So if in general the county is seeing an uptick and we're seeing farther distances, is that, I know it's separate. I don't know, it's just something to watch for. If more people are riding the bus, that's good.
Yeah, can I say something to that as somebody that uses that system as disabled? Probably some of the reason is just because, again, the city as a whole, again, is wanting to get empty nesters with incomes of $250 or above. So there's a ton of older people moving to the community. So, there's ADA paratransit, there's senior, there's Medicare, there's 5 programs under Land of Sky that are under Mountain Mobility. So the other thing is most of the bigger facilities that are for people that are both elderly and disabled are in the county. There's also an employer of 400 people that are visually and hearing impaired that is in the county that go to work every day at Industries for the Blind. So I understand it because I see that where the folks that I know that are like disabled, they mostly live in the county. One, because they can afford to live in the city, and 2, because that's a lot of where these communities are going. And then there's one big business that employs all disabled folk that use paratransit. Those are all in the county. And with the increasing population of demand is going to uptick. Just what I know from meeting with those issues.
Also attached to your agenda is a table that has the actuals from the last few years and the information about the projection for this coming fiscal year and the current one that we're halfway through.
Okay. All right. So for 2021, we have two options based on the numbers that we put together. Option one basically includes the full year of the TMP for 12 months. So looking at that and looking at the green colored column, it basically shows in January we're going to be implementing some of the recommendations in the TMP. And then part of that for the next 12 months is going to be the extended hours that we have been talking about. So that option, when you look at the base, is a little over 12 million. And then the proposed enhancement, which is extending service hours, is a little over 1 million. And so the total for option one is a little over 13 million. When you look at option two, based on the information on the sheet, it includes the full year, basically the amount in the green column, in addition to service recommended for the second year, and which that includes basically a north-south crosstown route, and also recommended changes or frequency improvements to S3 and X6. So option two basically is included in that amount is option one, full year amount, and then the enhancement, which is a little over 2.2 million. And so the total amount for option two is a little over 14 million. Are there any questions? Yeah.
So if I'm reading this correctly,
Okay.
The difference between option one and option two, I think service-wise, the proposed enhancements is just the additional north-south crosstown route.
Yes.
And increased frequency on S3 and S6.
Yes.
And if I read it correctly, those two changes will cost an additional $1.1 million.
In addition to the enhancement.
I'm just looking at the difference. So
Yeah.
I'm expressing a little bit of surprise that two new bus, increased frequency on S3 and S6 and one new bus route is going to cost $1.1 million. And I understand about 1% of the financial piece that you all do, but that number surprises me. So when I get surprised, I'm going to share my surprise with you, and maybe there's an explanation. It just seems high for one additional route, north-south crosstown route, and increased frequency on S3 and S6.
So it's about, and so we have very, I'll call them rigorous estimates for year one for the green.
Right.
And working with RATP Dev to get an exact cost. The orange color is an estimate based on the increased number of service hours. It's not hard and fast, but it's about 15 to 17,000 more service hours. So, and including additional fuel, our estimate is that it would be about $1.1 million extra for the fuel.
So what's the total number of service hours right now?
The total number for the whole system?
Yeah.
Right now it's 81,000, and in January it will be 91,000-ish.
91,000. So those two changes you said would be an additional 15 to 17 just for those two changes.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's a
More
whole
than
new
a fee.
route is another driver, and then adding frequency is another two drivers.
Right.
So
that's a 15% increase in service hours just based on those two changes.
generally speaking, yeah. And then so the 90,000 that starts in January, that's only 6 months worth, right? So part of what is in the base, the $12 million base includes annualizing what we're starting in January.
Explain part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, here's a little bit details in terms of option 1, providing additional information, the route reconfiguration, as well as electricity, fuel, and then also paratransit cost, the one that Jessica mentioned in terms of the additional 1.7. And then we also have estimated costs for city staff and operations, as well as building equipment, maintenance, and staff, so $200,000. So this is just a breakdown of the information on the first sheet, and that comes to 12 million. Here again is the enhancement request in terms of additional detail. So the partial 1 year extended operational hours, basically in terms of looking at it we provided estimates at 12, 9, and 6 months. So those are the figures over there. In addition to fuel for the 1 year. And then for the second year, the one we just talked about in terms of an additional route and improvements on S3 and X6, also estimated at 12, 9, and 6 months. And so those are the numbers, as well as one of the things that we're also requesting is about $150,000 for additional for software, for operations. So that is the excuse me. So basically, again, here's a summary, detailed, based on the information just shared. When you take the base cost at January 2020, and then you add some numbers to it in terms of the additional service that needs to be added, extend hours, fuel, paratransit, city staff, building, and also additional software upgrades. That breakdown provides the total. And then this is the same for also option 2, basically looking at all the detailed information that goes into the estimated amount. And it's almost the same thing in terms of paratransit, fuel, city staff, as well as maintenance and additional operational software upgrades. So basically, that is the total in terms of the that's it. That's it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so this is a summary of a paratransit cost history based on ongoing conversation with the county in terms of what the actual cost has been for the last, I would say, 3-4 fiscal years, and then projected for the current year as well as next year.
This may be all political or other things, but I mean the change in rate is substantially increasing, and the county subsidy going away. Do we need to be advocates for more equity? I mean, the county doing nothing for paratransit. It seems like there's an imbalance there.
Right. I think it's important to keep in mind, though, that the paratransit is their city's service that we contract out to the county, just like we contract out our fixed route to RATP Dev. So think of it as if our paratransit was operated by RATP Dev. They would expect to be paid in full, right, by the city. And so for the last several years, the county has been, I would say, graciously subsidizing about half of the cost. And they've just said, you know, we don't want to do that anymore. But that doesn't mean that there's not a larger conversation to be had about transit as a whole. But just remember that they're our contractor, like they're our employer for paratransit. Ultimately, it's the city's responsibility to provide it. Does that make sense?
I see that I misunderstood it. I thought that when the county subsidy goes to zero, that meant that the city was paying for all paratransit through the entire county because they weren't contributing anything.
No.
That's money that they were giving us, essentially, that's now going
Right.
to zero.
And it's kind of confusing, and Elizabeth touched on it a little bit. So Mountain Mobility does more than just paratransit. So they also do a program for seniors, and they do a program for Medicaid. And so when someone calls and says, I need specialized transportation, the county will determine which program they fall under. And so the paratransit is just like one of 5 of those programs, and that's our responsibility. And paratransit, we're responsible to provide that service within 3/4 of a mile of a route. Anything outside of that is on the county from a different program. And right now the city has been, I don't know what the right way to describe it is. We are more generous in our paratransit than we are legally required to do. So that 3/4 of a mile, you know, that buffers each route. And we just sort of treat the city as a circle, as a whole. And if you're going from point A to point B, and as long as it's in that city boundary, we provide that ride. However, we don't have to if it's not within that 3/4 of a mile. And so we have been doing that. And it does cost a lot to do that. And so that's also part of the equation.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a presentation from the climate lobby, and I think you had several documents attached, including the presentation. I think there was like 4 different documents we had attached. I am doing your time. We have a couple more things on the agenda, so can we keep this to maybe 20 minutes?
Yes, oh yeah. Our target was a little less than that, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So does this thing work?
Thank you.
No. Okay. All right. So I assume this topic is a little outside the norm for the Transit Committee, but we'll talk about why we think it's important for you to hear this. We're here to talk about the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act.
Are you Dan?
I'm Dan. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm Dan Glidden, and I'm here with Steffi Rausch.
Hi.
And we're both volunteer members of the Asheville chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, which I'll talk about in a minute. How many of you have ever heard of Citizens Climate Lobby? Okay, a few of you, good. So anyway, we're here to talk about the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, why it's important for transportation, and how you can help us try to convince Congress to pass this legislation. So, Citizens Climate Lobby is a nonpartisan advocacy group trying to get legislation passed at the national level to address climate change. And the way we do that is we directly lobby members of Congress, and we're responsible for relationship with Representatives Meadows and McHenry. But we also try to get citizens and businesses and other organizations to speak up about this issue, because Congress people tell us all the time they don't hear enough from their constituents about it. So it hasn't been a priority for them. How we go about doing this, again, we developed close relationships with our Congress people. We meet with them regularly. And try to help them understand why this is an important issue. We're almost an entirely volunteer-based organization. We have a small corporate staff, but most of us are volunteers doing this work. And we're focused on one specific thing, and that is a piece of legislation called the Energy Innovation Carbon Dividend Act. And we've been working on this for 12 years. The legislation was first introduced at the end of 2018. So anyway, it's been a long road. We're hopeful we can actually get something done. And we do it by showing respect, appreciation, and gratitude with whoever we work with, whether they agree with us or not. We aren't yellers and screamers. We don't protest. We develop relationships with them. So how will climate change affect transportation and transit? You're probably all aware of this, but climate change is expected to increase the intensity and severity of weather events. Heat waves will be worse. As we've seen over the last couple of years, precipitation and flooding are going to be worse, all of which directly impacts transportation. You can read the list of potential things. This is just to document that this really is happening. The number of $1 billion climate-related events have gone up by 400%, and the costs of those events have gone up almost 500% since 1980. And this slide's actually probably a little out of order because we haven't really talked about carbon pricing yet, but that's the fundamental piece of the legislation is to add a price on carbon emissions. And some people believe that won't impact transportation. And there's a study done by 4 MIT economists that shows that the CAFE standards, the emissions standards that have been in place, have actually led to increased use of cars because cars are much more fuel efficient, much more cost efficient to drive, so people drive more. It's kind of like the problem with LED lights. LED lights save all kinds of energy, so everybody uses way more of them. Now we have lighted billboards and things. But anyway, so their study said that what's most important is a consistent, long-term predictable rise in the price of fossil fuels in order to impact transportation. So the Energy Innovation Carbon Dividend Act has 4 key provisions, and I'll talk about each of them quickly. First one, as I said, was to put a price on carbon emissions. So depending on the fossil fuel, whether it's coal, oil, or natural gas, each would have a slightly different price, but overall it's $15 per equivalent ton of emissions based on each type of fuel. And that price would go up by $10 a year. And it would be assessed at the source, so either the mine, the well, or the refinery. And the other key aspect of this provision is that if we're not hitting specific targets of carbon emissions that are specified in the bill, then the increase would go up to $15 a ton. Now, just for a comparison, $15 a ton of emissions on gasoline would be about 15 cents a gallon. So initially, not very much, but it would ramp up very quickly. Second key aspect of the bill is the dividend. So you collect all this money from the fee, which causes prices throughout the economy to go up. Anything based on fossil fuel, transported by fossil fuel, burning fossil fuel for energy, prices would go up throughout the economy. So the bill would take the money that is collected, and it would go into a trust fund managed by the Treasury Department, and then they would take that money minus the administrative costs and give the rest of it in an equal dividend to all citizens. So all of us here would get the same dividend. Billionaires would get the same dividend, same exact dollar amount. The advantage of that is people at the lower income levels, 50 to 60% of income, lower 50 to 60% of incomes, would get more back in the dividend than they would pay in higher costs based on the fee on the fossil fuels. So it's a progressive form of dealing with climate change, in that those people will actually have extra money to move away from fossil fuels and for energy efficiency of their house, more energy efficient cars, or lower carbon emission cars, et cetera. And the administrative costs, a lot of people are concerned about that, giving government more responsibility for stuff. There's provisions in the bill that the administrative costs can't be more than 2% within 5 years of the start of this thing. So it's going to be very minimal cost coming out of the trust fund. Third major point is the border adjustment. If we in the U.S. implement a carbon tax like this, it would make, and no one else in the world did, and that's not true, others are, but many aren't, it would make our manufacturers less competitive because they would be experiencing these higher costs. So the border adjustment says that it levels the playing field for our manufacturers with other countries that don't have a carbon fee. If they export to a country that has a lower or no carbon fee, they would get a credit for that. Items being imported from countries that don't have a carbon tax would pay that carbon tax upon importing. So it just levels the playing field and encourages all other countries to implement a similar fee. And then last, this was a compromise provision in the bill. This bill was a bipartisan bill, and you'll see more about that in a minute. They made the decision to put a pause on EPA regulations related to carbon emissions. The EPA for 10 years would not be allowed to regulate carbon emissions if we're hitting the targets that we're supposed to be hitting as specified in the bill, which is a 40% reduction within 10 years. If the targets aren't met within 10 years, then the bill would give explicit authority to the EPA to actually regulate emissions, which they don't have today. Any regulations that the EPA issues today are based on a court case, and they're always challenged in the courts. In this case, they would have specific authority from Congress to regulate emissions. It would preserve any existing regulations, assuming they survive the current administration, including the CAFE standards. And there's 3 exemptions in the bill for the military, agriculture, and non-emitting use of fossil fuels. And sometimes fossil fuels are used as a direct input into the manufacture of like plastic. It doesn't emit CO2 in that process. Okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Steffi, and she's going to talk about the current support for this bill, how we believe the bill would help impact transportation, and then how you can help us.
Yeah. Thank you. And just one real quick thing back here. This regulatory moratorium is basically what I call a meatless bone to Republicans to help them come on board with this bill. Regulations is only projected as far as the Clean Power Plan to reduce our emissions to 3% by 2050. And we're supposed to get 100%. So really, regulations is really not the way to go. If ours gets us to 90%, we need to be supporting this. And you'll see here why it's widely supported. So this is the website, energyinnovationact.org. Please check it out if you'd like to learn more. There's a link to HR 763 to read the full bill if you'd like. Yeah, it's been introduced initially by 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. We're trying to depoliticize this issue and make it bipartisan. However, that was last election. Since then, we have lost 2 Republican co-sponsors. One lost a seat. The other went out and started his own carbon pricing bill. And since then, since we were the first bipartisan climate legislation to be introduced in a decade, since then there's been 6 other carbon pricing bills, interestingly enough. Ours is the only revenue neutral, completely 100%, which is a very big conservative concern. They want it to be revenue neutral. That way you kind of avoid the argument of it being a tax, right? Because if the government does not revenue from it or does not get any revenue, is it really a tax by definition? But we do have one Republican, Rooney, but he is going to retire soon. We hope with this next election that we will gain more Republican support as they feel more comfortable stepping out. they don't feel comfortable stepping out right now with the current administration. We also just started a Senate Climate Solutions Caucus in the Senate, just like we did in the House, where we grow them in pairs, so we get them to the table to discuss economically viable solutions. So we started in the House with 6 and 6 group, 45 and 45, so you have to join with Democrat and Republican in pairs. They cannot join. In the Senate, we're doing the same thing. We just got Romney, Graham, and Marco Rubio to start with the 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. So we grow that, and then from that comes the bill. So hopefully we'll get it reintroduced into the Senate. So these are the list of endorsers. We have about 1,000 endorsements nationwide, 100 of which come here in Asheville. If you want to see the full list of endorsers, I do have sheets here. It's on the back side of our agenda from our meeting yesterday. But yeah, a lot of brewers. We have about almost 300 brewers now, 200 brewers now across the country. We're trying to go for 1,000 because the brewery industry is going to be affected. Who knows if we'll have beer in many years. So Asheville did support carbon fee and dividend before the bill was introduced back in 2019. So this is their resolution. However, we just went to Stacy again, and they unanimously voted to support the new resolution in support of the bill. So this will be on the consent agenda for City Council coming up. And then as far as endorsements nationwide, I looked on the supporters page and searched for transit and transportation and found these 3. So as you can see, Birmingham, Alabama, the Transit Citizens Advisory Board. There's also the Active Transportation Alliance in Chicago, and Campaign for Sustainable Transportation in Santa Cruz. So hopefully you guys will join that those endorsements. So this is the biggest thing, the Economist statement. Just so you know, this was published in the Wall Street Journal. And this was the largest statement in history by economists in support of carbon dividends. It has every economic advisor to the president since Ford in support of this. And there's a reason. I just would like to read the first paragraph and the last, because it really does make a very good point of why this is so effective. They have like 5 pillars, and the first says a carbon tax. They do call it a tax here, but really when you make it revenue neutral, there's some issues there. So a carbon tax offers the most cost-effective lever to reduce carbon emissions at the scale and speed that is necessary. That is really important for people to understand. Economists believe this is the best way, including the IPCC, who publishes the report for the UN. By correcting a well-known market failure, a carbon tax will send a powerful price signal that harnesses the invisible hand of the marketplace to steer economic actors towards a low-carbon future. This is a market-based approach. To maximize, so the last pillar talks about the dividend. To maximize the fairness and political viability of a rising carbon tax, all the revenue should be returned directly to U.S. citizens through equal lump sum rebates. The majority of American families, including the most vulnerable, will benefit financially by receiving more in carbon dividends than they pay in increased energy prices, because that's based on their carbon footprint. They typically have lower than average carbon footprints. So it's really important to understand why they are supporting this. And you saw how many Nobel laureates were on there. I think it was 27. Yeah, 27. So how will this bill affect transit? Well, number one, it will encourage more mass transit use, more multimodal transportation, more investment in electric cars as people try to lower their carbon footprint due to a slowly rising price in carbon. And we want it to be a slow rise because we want to give predictability to the markets. We want businesses to be able to plan. We want farmers to be able to plan. The military is already planning to move to clean energy. They've been talking about that for years. There's a wonderful movie called The Burden that talks about that. So it also helps to offset rising costs to 50 to 60% of all households, right? It also helps to incentivize municipalities to start investing in more clean energy. It will help the city meet their goals that they have set in the resolution. And help fund money into more mass transit infrastructure, which is what we do need. And we are projected, our bill, to reduce emissions. So I don't know if you guys know what the IPCC goals are. We have to reduce our emissions to 50% by 2030 and 100% by 2050 to prevent an unlivable world. That is the timeline we have been given by the IPCC and UN at the COP conferences. Our bill will get us to 40% by 2030 of 2016 levels and 90% by 2050. That is the strongest, most comprehensive reduction in emissions by any bill so far to be proposed. There's one carbon pricing bill that goes a little higher, but it's not revenue neutral. Even McHenry mentioned our bill. He likes it for its revenue neutrality in the recent town hall out of all the carbon pricing bills. And it's across all the markets, so it's comprehensive. Unlike something like cap and trade, which only works with the actual energy producers or large corporations. We're doing it at the entrance to the markets. It funnels down through the markets. Everyone pays. Everyone pays. But the consumers get the money back, and they funnel it back into the economy. And that is why we feel this bill is so important. It's economically viable. So why do we want you to endorse? Well, we are very strategic when we meet with our legislators and we look at what they care about. And we've met with Congressman Meadows about 8 to 10 times face-to-face and about 6 times now with Congressman McHenry. And I'm sure you guys know McHenry's fourth in line in the GOP, and Meadows is very high up as well. He used to lead the Freedom Caucus. So they're very high up men. However, they need to see support at the lower levels, grassroots, and he is on the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. So we are trying to get more transportation endorsements, and we feel this would help move him. So endorsements from transportation groups would be meaningful to gain his support. That's it. So there's our contact information. If anyone here is interested in learning more, or if you guys have questions, we're open to those. I think we're, at 19 minutes.
I have a question, Steffi, and thank you for your diligence in getting this to meetings in City Hall. Can you refer back to the SACY decision here locally? So that's our fellow board and commission.
What was their decision?
Right.
Yeah, they voted unanimously to support our resolution in support of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. Yeah.
I'd like to move that we support this effort.
Great.
Second.
Do you have any discussion?
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have you
And
presented at Sierra Club?
Yeah, we talk with Nashville quite a bit. They're more supportive of an actual carbon tax. They want the government to spend the money for the transition, and that's understandable. And it would help us move towards reducing our emissions faster. However, it will be regressive. You could ask any economist, if you just do a carbon tax, it's regressive and it will hurt low-income people the most. The other part of this that a lot of people don't understand is, McHenry is in Scalise's office. And Scalise, for the past 5 years, I think they've passed, I don't know how many times, the Scalise resolution, where every House Republican has voted against a carbon tax. Every House Republican to not support a carbon tax. So they have signed on to a resolution stating that. So you have to understand the political environment that we are in, and that is where we're at. So we believe this has the most economic viability. It will help grow the economy because usually low-income people will funnel into the economy. They don't really save that much anymore. They go to the doctor first. They buy more food or retail items. They'll go to the breweries more. So it's something that helps the breweries. So when businesses see that this money will come back to them through the people, businesses will pass along the costs, and if they reduce their carbon footprint, they will be the winners here because they will be able to compete in a better environment Same with the countries around the world. The ones who lower their emissions the fastest will be the winners here. And this is happening around the world, carbon pricing, and we are responsible for getting it done in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
I understand the output of carbon dioxide, okay? I know plants can only do so much for the carbon dioxide output. What about the carbon monoxide, which is destroying the ozone?
I am not a scientist, and I can't answer that. So I would encourage you to ask a scientist about it. Noah's here in town, and I would just encourage you to have that conversation with them, because I really can't answer that for you. I'm here to.
yeah, I need to interrupt because we're in the middle of like a vote. I hate to cut you off, but we just have to move on. Can you talk to her after?
Yeah.
We're in the middle of trying to take it a vote.
I'd be happy to talk.
So we had a motion, we had a second. Am I going back? Okay, so to support this. So do we have any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. And we'll communicate with you to let us know about what that support needs to take the form of or look like, other than just saying we support it.
Yeah, you'll want to read the actual resolution,
Yeah,
maybe.
so we'll
Have
kind
you
of follow up
drafted
with you and see what we need to do to move that forward in any way.
Okay.
In the way you format you need that.
Yeah, great. Thank you
Okay.
so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okie dokie. Smart Drive. Barry.
Hey, did you guys get a chance to look over what I gave you at the last meeting?
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
this is kind of we gave you a snapshot of a couple of the first early weeks, gave you a snapshot of a couple of the later weeks up to the last meeting, and it's continuing. We are seeing improvement in the type of behaviors in driving that we're seeing. And that's the whole idea, is try to instill a sense. I wasn't really, yeah, you can. I mean, if anybody wants to go over that, we can, but the whole idea is that we are trying to change bad behavior in driving, which is following too close, taking turns too fast, and when you follow too close, you stop too abruptly. Get the big picture. Intersections is where we kill people in this business, and Smart Drive will focus you on intersections. We don't bring people in and rake them over their coals. We bring people in and say, look at this. Could we try something different here? Let's see what we can do differently in the future. And there has been a real good positive change in the frequency and the severity of what we're seeing on the Smart Drive system. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we are with it. It's going to continue on. It doesn't stop. So any new hires that we get, they see this real fast if they're having issues. Although a couple of them come on board and just never have a Smart Drive. You never have a clip show up. They're an event generated, so we get them by the next day. By the time the bus comes back into the garage, the events download, they're reviewed, and we get notice of them. So I get them frequently. You could get them while the driver's on the road. If they punch a notice, they can say, hey, there's a tree hanging down low here, it's hitting the top of the bus. In the summer we had several of those. We get the information out right away. So they communicate that way, or whatever it is. There's, this car has been parked in the stop for the last 2 days. Can somebody take a look at this? Then we can see what's going on right there. So it's a good communication tool. I've been dealing with these since 2001, 2002, Smart Drive, DriveCam, these type of event generating services. They are a wonderful tool for making you a professional driver, because it makes you pay attention at all times, and that's what we're looking for. So is there any questions about what you saw on there?
I just want to acknowledge that I know our drivers, who are the first people we see after sometimes like an epically challenging day, are feeling the pressure of our on-time performance and system failures, as well as the growth of population changes. And I know we're all looking for a cause for celebration. So as long as this is being used to elevate when we do have some wins and we see those go down, I think it'll be positively received.
I agree, and it has to be implemented in that way. It has to be positive. And if you have people who don't ever generate them, bring them in and recognize them. You know, how can you do that? How can you go out and drive every day in this city and not have an event? Well, that takes some talent. It absolutely takes some talent.
I've also seen drivers slam on the brakes and avoid wrecks that we were all really, really thankful for. So.
Oh, but that's an acknowledgement that, hey, you did a good job. You saw those coming, you got stopped, and we didn't have an accident.
Right.
You know, or that person jumped out there on the street. You know, you're right. That's the positive part of it. And, you know, whenever you roll something out like this, although we've had video on these buses since before I got here, so you've always had the opportunity to look at video. But this gives us an ongoing review of a driver, an operator's performance all the time. And the OTP I had never seen when I got here and been at many different operations. I had never seen the pressure of the OTP like this particular operation has. And there's so many things that really restrict our ability for OTP in this city. Maybe we have a single hub. We want to keep a half-hour headway. Well, unless you shorten routes and increase your times in between, you're really going to have trouble with OTP here forever and ever and ever, because you have a peak. You have a couple of peaks. You have three of them here. You have a morning, a midday, and an afternoon. And when it all bogs down, there's very little you can do to help that.
I'd like to give a shout out. One of the things that Marcella shared with us yesterday is that they reran all of the routes because if some of the routes were too tight, I think you ran them at peak hours with the goal of, and cable too, I think was part of that, probably you know, all of you were, but with the goal of understanding how tight it was. So I'm really excited about January and what it can do for on-time performance.
Agreed. The city staff and our staff would work closely to, wherever we could expand time frame, we did to make it more realistic. But there are still limiting factors here. Right. And then, you know, when we talk about expansion of service and we talk about later service and there's a lot of, talk about free service, we talk about a lot of things that are a massive impact to this small system. Frequency and free. There's a big capital investment that's going to have to come down the road because you just don't have the volume. You got 30-foot buses. You can only put so many people on a bus. And so unless you put more of them out there, which is $500,000 each or $700 each for a hybrid or $800 each for an electric, it's an investment that you need to make if you want to go there, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it needs to be planned.
So I'm hearing you say that if we make it free, then we have to make it more frequent because there will be so many more people on the bus?
Absolutely.
Right.
Which means a whole lot more buses.
Right.
And drivers.
And we need a lot.
We like operations. We do that.
Yeah.
Barry, get back to the point where you were talking about, you know, like the sudden stops, the buses making the stops. Does the newer buses, do they give that a time stamp on it? Does it take a picture or anything like that?
Yeah, all the buses have our smart drive system in them.
So it takes a picture every time we have like a hard stop?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, every time there is an event, which is a G factor, and I think it's 4 Gs.
Right.
If you have a 4G stop or lurch, or a 4G rock, left or right, it causes here's the deal. They are recording all of the time, 100% of the time, but only capture a 20-second time frame when an event happens. So if you're going down the road and you're not paying attention and you slam on the brakes because the light turned yellow and then red right away and you're right there and you stop, okay? Because you went over the 4G force going forward, it's going to capture the 10 seconds prior to that and the 10 seconds after that time that you hit that brake and cause the 4G.
Okay, and just say, for instance, right down the road, we go to the roundabout down there. If everybody in the bus goes like this and then goes back like that, does that create a timestamp in that?
It depends on whether it was a 4G or not.
Okay.
And it is really close, okay? I mean, you can if it's a smooth roll, probably not. But if it's a curb and a roll, then it's probably going to give us the event.
Okay.
And so we get those and we capture those.
Like when everybody on the bus say, whoa!
And you know what? You hear it all. And it's amazing how much you capture when you capture 10 seconds before and 10 seconds after. And that's all we see at that point. If we want to see more, we can go into the actual video on the bus. But the Smart Drive system is only designed to capture a 20-second blurb when an event occurs. 10 before and 10 after.
That happened yesterday on the E1.
Yeah. So anyway, we just wanted to, this particular system is a good one. And we've kind of gotten beyond the, I don't want to slam my brakes on, stuff that happens initially. I think we've worked through getting past that. I believe as an operations tool, it really does help smooth things out. I think I told you that when we first talked about rolling it out. It will help change how our drivers operating, it'll change their behavior and how they operate.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you. I like the use of data, and the numbers look good, and I think you've worked out the unintended negative consequences that were happening at the beginning, so it's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so updates, do we want to just email them in, or do we want to do them briefly? We can email them in. Okay. And then we have the transit update, and then our data from RA to Dev. Anything that's new, because some of it seems like it's a repeat every month. Is it just, anything that's you need to point out that's brand new info would be.
I think the only thing new on that memo is we added a small section on the vehicles we're procuring. And so the 2 buses that were approved last year have been received in addition to fare boxes. We've gone through, or we're going through inspection, and hopefully everything is going to be okay, and then we're going to place them in service. In addition to those 2 buses, we are procuring 7 buses, 3 Gilligs and 4 vicinity. We had a pre-production meeting this afternoon, and we're looking at delivering by mid-2020. And I think that's the new.
We got 2 buses in a week ago, this week, this past week.
We got them last week.
We got them in late last week. We're going through, and the manufacturer rep was here yesterday and today inspecting along with us. We had them inspected when they came off the line in Livermore, California, and then they get a 3,000-mile test drive. Drive them out. So it gives them an opportunity to break in a little bit and an opportunity to take a good look at them. And then when they get here, the manufacturer actually sends a rep out, and we do a post-delivery inspection with them. And anything that needs to be repaired, anything that's ongoing, we go through that whole process with them. We didn't have anything real major, a couple items, though. There's always something that you're going to.
Well, the drivers have it in their mind that those are not buses that we're going to keep.
Those are what?
Buses we're not going to keep.
No, these 2 Gilligs we're keeping. Now we do have 4 vicinities that the manufacturer who's put them online and is building those. I think we're scheduled March to May for production to be done. Okay, but around the 1st of January, we're going to get 3 lease buses. They're free lease, but they're the same kind of buses. We're going to get 4. 3 of them will be here 1st of January. The other one will be later, probably 1st of February.
Those are not in the report.
No, it's not, but yeah.
But they're part of, that manufacturer said, hey, we understand you need more buses starting in January. We've got these 4 that we're letting people use, and we'll have those available to you.
So they must
So we'll have 3 of them. Those lease buses will go away. We're going to put those signs that we eventually put on those cutaways, just to make sure everybody knows what buses they are. And we've already got those, so they'll go on when we get them. We'll put those online as quick as we go through them, make sure they've got radio and things that we may have a portable in them, but we're working to make sure those go online. We actually still have enough buses to run service, even if those don't show up. But the expectation last word was we'll have them 1st of January. So we feel
We're in
pretty
good shape.
dang good about the bus.
So we're gonna keep those 2 we got.
Yes.
The 2 we're keeping, 3 more brand new ones next June, July, mid-year Gilligs, and the 4 new ones will be here March to May. 4 other new ones that we'll be keeping as well.
Okay.
Can I just clarify that? So it says that the budget request that the staff is submitting does include, or it will include, the rest of the year 1 of TMP and the second year of TMP enhancements?
The buses?
No,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
talking about in the memo. There's about the transit division budget that y'all are requesting to fully fund years 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's
So
part of.
option 2
Yeah.
on your spreadsheet.
I don't believe it's part of that, but as part of our CIP, we do request buses as part of that process.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about buses.
Okay.
I was just asking about the memo.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're planning to request funding for years 1 and 2?
That's the goal. I'm sorry. That's the goal, to make sure that we request.
I think at our last meeting, staff said they were only requesting the rest of year 1 of the TMP. But has that changed?
I believe the information we submitted include that, so I don't want to provide the wrong information. I might clarify.
Or maybe you're
Yeah.
providing 2 options to city, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They are. They're providing 3 options, different times of the year for the full TMP first year implementation. We've included the extended routes.
Okay.
We've provided, and they're providing costs for 3 different times in the year to implement. Okay? So they're getting that, and they'll have decisions to make on the amount of dollars.
And I think part of that, the 3 different times throughout the year, is allowing staff to fully prepare, be it 3, 6, or 9 months, because as you can see, it takes a lot of preparation to get to
So
it.
is city staff, I know you're presenting those options, but is city staff providing a recommendation among those options?
I would have to get back to the group on that.
For us as a body to make a recommendation.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just want to. I just do want to read.
I interrupted Tom.
No,
Did
it's
I
okay.
did I answer your question, Thomas?
You did, yeah. I just want to read from the memo because maybe
Okay.
I'm reading it wrong.
Okay.
The enhancement requests will include a request to fund the last portion of the first year of the
Mm-hmm.
TMP, in addition to a request to fund the second year of the TMP.
Yeah.
Which, if that's true, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that that's accurate.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in there. It's a request. Yeah.
So you can make a motion to support the expansion budget? No, enhancement budget.
Enhancement
To include the full fiscal year 2.
Okay.
As recommended in the staff memo of the TMP.
Yep. Is that motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And if I understand, does that go to multimodal?
Yes.
Or does it go straight to city council?
It goes to multimodal.
And y'all will make sure that gets to multimodal?
Yeah. And it's part of the process. I'm still trying to understand our budgetary process, so it goes through the year till it's approved by the city council.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
So we also had information from RITB Dev on our complaints, all our spreadsheets. Does anyone have any questions, comments about what we got from Barry?
I do. So, in your complaints section, the number of complaints dropped significantly this month. It went from 21 last month to 8 this month. And I just wanted, that surprised me because it's always been higher, and I just want to make sure that we're not missing anything.
No, it's real.
Okay.
We have really pressed on pastor interaction and how things should be done.
Okay.
There are a few employees that that didn't fully understand that, and they're not with us.
Okay.
And when something like that happens, I think people begin to understand how extremely important it is. You know, if someone's been told repeatedly, you can't do that, you can't treat people like that, and it continues, then at some point we stop the attempt to develop and we move on without you.
So the second part I want to point out, of those 8 complaints, only 4 of them indicate that there was any effort to reach out to the passenger after the initial complaint. And to me, that should be 100% instead of 50%.
I did not see that, but I'll look at that.
If you look at all 8, only 4 of them, and a lot of times attempt is made to reach out to the passenger and it's unsuccessful.
Right.
That's fine, I get that. But only half of them say, was there any effort made to reach out to the passenger?
I'll look at that.
I think it should be 100%.
I agree with you that it should be 100%.
And I'd like to see it documented so that I know that it's happening. Thank you.
The only thing I would like to say is after looking at this data over many, many months, looking at the missed trips, you can really see the change in the buses being broken down all the time. And now when you kind of have that a little bit resolved, you see the impact of traffic. That has been amazing to me is looking at that shift, is when you really look at the missed trips. When I first came on board, it was a lot of maintenance issues, a lot of broken down buses, but now it's traffic. So I think we're getting out kind of a clearer picture as we're cleaning up some of the issues of what come the other issues like you talked about and what really impacts OTP. And I've just seen that shift in the data over the last 6 or 7 months, so fully looking into it.
Agreed. Yeah,
It's interesting.
it's not
It's
on
been
us
good.
so
Good
much.
data.
Yeah.
For us to think about, yeah. Anything else? Okay, so rider experience, and I'm just going to time check. We are at 8 minutes to go, so we're just going to go around briefly and talk about our rider experience, and then we'll have our last public comment. Harvey, you want to start?
What about the art renovations?
Oh, sorry. Did I miss
Art
that?
renovations.
We got art renovations. We had a
Yeah.
memo on that.
Said mid-January.
Yep.
Right now it's mid-January. They had some issues with some electrical permitting and
Right.
a couple other things, but when they're ready, we're ready. And then the next phase will be a split deck again. We're going to do one side and then the other side work, the other, however they do it, to be able to do the painting and everything overhead. And so we'll have part of that service out on Asheville.
In that overhead area, Barry, are they gonna put up a bigger signage so people can actually see it? Cause that little one that's up there now, oh, are they gonna do the same?
Talking about the electronic sign out in front. Right now, that electronic sign is the electronic sign out front.
They're not gonna change it?
No, not at this point. They're looking at some options on some different type of electronic sign. That stuff is expensive add-on. So I know they are looking at several different options. There's going to be wraps for the bus routes on each pole for each gate, you know, that kind of thing. But the electronic stuff is stuff you'd like to move to.
But so far, moving forward, we're looking at January 15th as far as the station opening up so people know
That's what
when
it
to
looks
sit
like,
down.
yes. Yeah.
I'm hearing from members of the public that we could maybe send information out about that really clearly to the public. And I think in this situation, even though it may feel like a delay, at least it's clearly understood. So if we could send it on iRoad, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And you're talking about project completion date, March, April?
Right.
Yeah.
That stuff,
Okay.
yes.
And that's a total done date. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Rider experience. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
That's all right. So I sent mine in advance, and there's been some conversation, but I wanted to have one conversation here. So at Asheville Terrace Apartments, there are 2 benches to sit on. And what I learned from Jessica, one is probably the old stop, and then there's the new stop. And what I witnessed was a man at the old stop was waiting there and was surprised. The bus driver doesn't stop if you're at the old stop. They're 15 feet apart. Okay? And so a man missed his bus. Okay? In conversations, I think Jessica was going to advocate that the old stop needs to be removed. I want to advocate for a different solution. I think that's a very popular meeting spot for individuals. It's comfortable. It's additional. And if drivers could stop for both of them, if you look at both of them, rather than only the people who are standing at the street, but 15 feet away seems to me close enough to stop the bus for. And so I'm advocating for that. Rather, she wants to have the old stop removed, and I think the community is going to be outraged. They're going to be upset.
May I?
Yes.
It goes back to some of the conversations we've had about OTP and test driving and everything. So I definitely understand the need to leave it there. But if it's creating confusion, what we may do is we just completed an inventory of bus stops, and the intent there is to try and consolidate as much as we can. So in situations like that where we have 2 bus stops being too close, the need is to take a look at the ridership and make sure that we're making the best decision to serve the community. And it also part of overall looking at how our OTP and to ensure that we're doing everything possible to improve that. So it's not a way to punish the community, but rather to look at how close they are and make sure that we're making the right decision, in terms of, yeah.
So I hope it stays.
Yeah.
And the bus driver can just look at both. Can I do a second item? Oh.
So I went up there a few days ago, and it looked as if the bench was directly behind the shelter. So, with that being said, if the bus had stopped, I think someone would have ample time to get to the bus because it's directly behind, but also it's not ADA compliant. So, that raises another issue with keeping it there.
The bus stop now is situated so the driver can see it before he gets there. Before it was so he had to come to the stop, he always slows down. Now he can see the bus stop. If you're not in there, that's on you. The bench back there can stay. We don't have anything to do with that. But they've already created one where you can sit in there for comfort. And if you're not in there and the driver can see that you're not in there before he gets there, he can keep on going for as I'm concerned. Because that's more laziness myself.
I think in larger conversation we've talked about that if people are near the bus stop, that the driver will make an effort to see if they want to be on the bus.
Agreed. He'll do that.
15 feet, I think 15 feet, I think that's the distance within the bus stop. To me, it meets the need of being nearby. He's a regular bus rider. I know him. I know him by first name.
You should know where the stop is then.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. It's 15 feet away.
Yeah.
It's back in the trees.
Yeah,
it's not out at the street where we
That's right.
pick people up on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. You're right. Why would he do that? I don't know. Maybe it was sunny. I don't know. Shade. I don't know. But the bus, and that's what the driver's focused on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're looking, but they're also driving a 30,000-pound rig, paying attention to what's going on.
My first bus riding the bus, I got yelled at because I was waiting in the shade.
Yeah.
And the bus driver yelled at me. So.
I asked for, I frequently drive around the city, look to trim up trees and whatever needs to be done so that we can get a view, so we can see what's coming up. Mm-hmm. Because it seems like it should be just so obvious. I see him 15 feet back there, but my focus is on the road and maybe somebody asking me something here and then the stop. And so it isn't quite as easily cut and dried when you're behind the wheel. There are some that we've dealt with that should have been dealt with. But this is one of those, that's where the people are for the stop, so that's where their focus is. Probably not out there. It's the stop. And that's what they're focused on.
Can we, because we're over time, can we move on? I know, just to do rider experience quickly so we can get public comment. Harvey, sorry.
Oh, is that not rider experience? That's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is, but we only, does anyone else have rider? Does anyone else have rider?
I can do one more.
I mean, I'm just opening the floor. Does anyone else want to say anything on rider experience?
I'll just add that it's been really good to see our neighbors on the bus. I ran into someone I hadn't seen in 10 years. I love seeing my drivers when they're having a good day and being there for each other, and I'm thankful.
My rider experience this month has been pretty good. I would like to give a shout out to 2 drivers, Ernest again and Victor. No, 3, Jerry. Jerry also. Jerry's my Saturday driver. And Victor, he's the man, and Ernest, he's the man.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Paul, you have anything?
Most of my other things digital.
Yeah, I'm gonna go all the way around. Yeah. And yes, can I ask Jordan to see if she has one before?
Sure. Oh, well, I've noticed that the drivers are more, I don't know what the word would be, but they're more calmer and they're more attentive. They're observing their passengers more. It's a different scene.
It's good to hear.
Can we do this super, we're like over time, so if we need public comment, can you do it super quick?
Sure. So I counted, I counted 414 cigarette butts at the Asheville shelter. And it took a month, but they're cleaned up. But I want to know, is there a permanent solution in place? Because it wasn't working.
Yeah. There's actually an ash tray on the side of the trash can out there. Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Another
I
one.
looked for it.
There is one there.
I'll look for it, yeah.
And we're putting another one up in there.
Clean
We're going to put one down at the other end.
It's got to be clean.
And then on Sunday, our guys will go through there.
Awesome.
Blow it out, whatever we have to do.
Thank you.
So that's the plan, Jeff. That's what we'll do.
Okay. We have our last public comment. Who would like to speak? Please come up.
I guess y'all know I'm Tom Tomlin. Been around a long time. I understand the transit office is not going to be ready until about January 15th. I'm still concerned. I said something last time about it. I'm still concerned about all these people are going to be asking all kind of questions, and where are they going to stay? I worked the transit master plan on 2012 when we changed the route numbers, like we had, like Kenilworth was Route 4 and Fairview Road was Route 12 and so on. And we're changing numbers now again, like WE1 and different, I think Go Park Inn is N5 or 6, something like that. Anyway, I was up there with Jeff and Harvey and Marcel and some other ones. What I'm concerned with is, since there's no place for us to be sitting at a table giving out information to all the passengers, and they're going to be asking all kind of questions, because trust me, I know what it was in 2012. I don't know how we're going to give the information to them. I mean, if it's,
I think we ought to try to have some tables out there for you to sit at. Yes, I do.
we need a table, but Barry, we need to be inside somewhere, because if you're outside, and it's, you don't know what January's going to bring. I mean, snow, rain, wind. You can't be having a map out there trying to show people this and it's raining or wind blowing. You can't give them the kind of information you need to give them. So
the other option is to push people to the transit at least there's a space there, and you could be sitting at a table in there. Yeah. But inside the trailer, I mean, that's an option. Whatever we can do to help that process. If it's nice and sunny, great. But you're right.
But I know
Look
what
at the next 2 weeks, so.
yeah. Well, I know what you're talking about the trailer, but there's not going to be a lot of room in that trailer to put a little table
3 people, yeah.
and have 4, 5, 6 people coming in there at one time.
Yeah.
Marcelo was supposed to be handling that.
Anyway,
We have a table, but like Tom was saying, we're very limited in our space physically.
Yeah. What about the little things to put them in? We could the little sleeves outside.
slots and stuff, putting the schedules in.
Yeah.
They'll have that in there.
Yeah.
But
Somebody, one of the ambassadors with their badge on, and they have the routes right there at the stand right there, and they pass them out like that. But if it gets windy, you can take it inside.
Oh, those routes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
well, my big question is, why can't we move the starting date forward to January 15th? I mean, I know the drivers are signing up on the new routes now for effective January 5th, but I feel sure that can be postponed and let them start January 15th or whatever date you come up with, January 20th or something, and just move it all forward. That way we're going to give the passengers, the riders, a little bit of comfort to be in a place where it's warm. That's the only thing I'm concerned with, because I plan on being up there and helping, but I'd like to be in a warm place and not being out there in 20-degree weather. And you can't. I mean, yeah, you could put a table out there on the platform, but it's going to be windy and blowing everything off the table. So I'm just asking if y'all would consider maybe moving the startup date out.
It's not me, Tom.
Or whoever.
We're not gonna talk about that now.
Yeah, well, or anyway, Cindy or something. But if we're going to do that, we need to do it ASAP. Don't wait till the day before to move it. And that's the only thing I'm asking for the city or whoever's responsible for it.
I would say January 15th isn't etched in stone.
Don't maybe not even.
So
It could be
that's
January.
my concern as well.
Yeah.
People. There's going to be people who have just done this for the last month, not seen anything, don't know of anything happening, and come Sunday and Monday, 5th and 6th, they're going to go, wow, what's going on here? Okay, what do I have to do? Here's what you have to do. Go for it.
Yeah, we'll be
It's going to be a week, 2 weeks. It always is. But I think we get through that. Honestly, I think we can push through it. I think we can look at some options for what we should be doing on the platform.
Yeah.
I don't think if you had a bus sitting there,
We need we adjourn pretty soon. We're way over, but is there anything else?
Yeah.
Sorry, we just can't.
quiet.
Hey, Barry, that's a good idea. Just set a bus up there.
Talk about this more later.
It's an option.
We put a table in the bus.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
all.
you. Thank you. Any other public comment quickly? Yeah.
Again, my name's Matthew Suppley, Supley. Again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all. Y'all seem very well informed of what's going on. I thank you. Marcella, this one for you. I believe last meeting, before I left, you had said the materials that have been printed out for the new routes and stuff are in Spanish. The 5691. Por español, marque número 8. Okay. Barry, I don't know if you can do anything about it. I've been informed by drivers they cannot talk on the radio while they're moving. Hands-free device would be important, not just for the fact of the buses being close to the terminal and somebody needing a bus, because I've missed 3 buses since this rule. We've parked and watched them roll out. Okay. Also, a hands-free device would be important because certain emergency actions or situations, you don't know how you're going to react. You have no idea. The driver might not have time to push that button or stomp on that button. The driver might just need to be yelling out, hey, I need APD or whatever, So I think it's very important if the drivers can't pick up that radio that they have a hands-free device. I feel that that's important for several reasons, like I say, for the passengers and for the driver's safety, because again, an emergency situation comes up, you cannot predict how you're going to react. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Please adjourn.